So the NBA trade deadline has concluded, and while there were not any star players moved, and while we didn't have the pandemonium of last season, there were still some significant trades this year. I spoke on the Tobias Harris move yesterday. The short version is, I think it gives the Pistons a lot of potential and versatility, and I think Harris can be very good under a new coach, and I think the Magic free themselves up in terms of roster space as well as cap space. But as for the moves of today, there were really like three moves that catch my eye, which is Markieff Morris being traded to the Washington Wizards, Jeff Green going to the Clippers, and Donatas Motiejunas going to the Pistons. Let's start with Markieff Morris going to the Wizards. I actually said about maybe 2 weeks ago that I wanted the Wizards to trade for Morris because the Wizards are struggling. They're not in the playoffs at the moment, and I still don't know what first-round pick they actually gave up for Morris, but they have all of their picks from 2016 to like 2022, so any one of those picks is going to go to the Suns. They gave up Humphreys and DeJuan Blair. That's really nothing, let's be honest. I like this for the Wizards because Markieff Morris, you have to imagine by him just not being on the Suns and being in a new environment and not being on the team that traded his brother, he'll just focus on playing basketball, I hope. Because Markieff Morris, with his head on straight, is definitely worth a first-round pick because he's a power forward who can put the ball on the floor a bit. He can be a pick-and-roll player with John Wall, and I think he'll be playing the power forward position for the Wizards, which is great because it just gives them more spacing. It allows John Wall to run that pick-and-roll with Marcin Gortat more, but I also think Markieff Morris, if he could develop maybe a pick-and-roll game, a pick-and-pop game with John Wall, I think that can be really effective. I think it makes the Wizards a better shooting team, and Morris was awesome in like the last 5 games or whatever he played since Hornacek got fired, so I think there's a lot of potential for this move with the Wizards. Does this make them a playoff team? I mean, it improves their spacing, it improves their shooting, and it gives them a guy who could average about 16 points per game, so yeah, maybe they could get into maybe somewhere between 5 through 8 in the Eastern Conference. I mean, once you get to like Chicago at number 5, everybody's pretty much around 500, so maybe they'd have a way to go though. Next, Jeff Green going to the Clippers. So when I first saw this move, I thought it was straight up Jeff Green for Lance Stevenson, which is really weird now that I think about it because it's just kind of unnecessary, but when it initially happened, that's what I thought it was, so I was like, oh, way to go, Doc, like, that's a good move. Then I saw they gave up a first-round pick in 2019 for him. Would I give up a first-rounder for Jeff Green? No, I wouldn't. But I guess the Clippers' rationale is probably, the pick is 3 years from now, we have our pick this season, which surprised me, I will say. Do I think that's the rationale to have? No, because that could come back and bite them really hard in 3 years, we don't know. But they have Jeff Green, and the Clippers, for the past couple seasons, the one thing that they were really looking for was a small forward who could defend multiple positions as well as be someone who could shoot the 3 ball. What is Jeff Green? Well, he's about 6'9", he can play small forward, some power forward, he can defend 3s, some 4s, and, some guards as well, so he's a versatile defensive player, he's athletic, and, I mean, he's at least a serviceable offensive player. The question with him is if he can really stretch the floor, because depending on what season you're looking at, Jeff Green has been as high as, I think, 37 or 38% from 3, but this year he's around 30, so I think he might end up starting for the Clippers day 1, and I do think if he's effective from 3, I actually think he could be very valuable for the Clippers. Do I think it makes them better than OKC or San Antonio or Golden State? I don't know, but I think it definitely improves their roster. This also, funny enough, it gives them a better chance to match up against the Warriors, because now, when the Warriors go small, you could run Blake Griffin at the 5, you could have Jeff Green at the 4, you could throw Wesley Johnson or Paul Pierce in there, and then you have Redick and Chris Paul. From a physical standpoint, you're in the same realm as Golden State when they go small now. But do I think the Clippers are still the 4th best team in the West? Yes, I do. Now let's talk about the Pistons getting Motiejunas, I guess. They gave up a first-round pick for him, which could be a lot when you think about it, but at the same time, since they acquired Tobias Harris yesterday, you could just say they gave up basically Brandon Jennings, Ersan Ilyasova, Joel Anthony, and a first-round pick, and they turned it into Tobias Harris, Monty Eunice, and Marcus Thornton. I'm pretty okay with that, you know? I think it's fine. I think Monty Eunice gives them shooting. I think he, another player who could potentially be something for them defensively. I mean, I don't think he's as good defensively as Pope or Morris, but, you know, Monty Eunice provides them with spacing, so I like that move. Now, with all these moves, do I think the Detroit Pistons are a playoff team in the Eastern Conference? Yeah, probably. I mean, they're like within 3 games of the 5th seed, so, and with Chicago struggling, there's definitely an opportunity there for the Pistons. Now let's talk about some of the guys who didn't move. Al Horford, and honestly, if I was the Hawks, I would be more open to trading away Jeff Teague and trying to keep Al Horford because you already have Schroeder, so you don't really lose much in terms of your point guard, and you could improve somewhere else by trading Teague. Obviously, I would have liked my Celtics to get Horford, but with his impending free agency, on top of the fact that I do think Atlanta does want to keep him, I'm cool with it. My Celtics are still the 3 seed. It's not like I'm complaining. Now we can also speak on Dwight Howard, who, similar situation to Horford, a talented center who could have potentially been moved, but that free agency, man, because everybody just assumes Dwight Howard is going to opt out or not re-sign, and then he's going to enter free agency and go to the highest bidder, so at that point it's like, why even trade for the guy, you know? We can also speak on Pau Gasol not being moved from the Bulls. I think it's a similar situation. He's got the free agency coming up. Sacramento was trying to get him. I think they were aiming for the wrong big man. I think you should have been going for Taj Gibson. I don't think Pau Gasol is going to solve the Sacramento Kings' problems, which is they're actually terrible on defense. But, yeah. And also, Channing Frye going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, he'll be a shooter for them off the bench, which is cool, but he's not going to help them with their real problem, which is they can't defend Golden State. Like, he's not going to help them in that area, so it's a nice little move, but that's not going to make a big difference for the Cavaliers, in my opinion. So that's going to do it. Trade deadline 2016, not too crazy because everybody's preparing for the massive salary cap jump, and yeah, I hope your team did well. That's it.